So, welcome everybody. Today is a very chilly February day in the winter time. It's not really a great day for riding. However, since my Kawasaki Vulcan S is fairly new to me, and I haven't yet done any riding videos, I thought I'd get out here just for a little while today and we'd talk about it. So I have owned the Versys 650. I own a Kawasaki Ninja 650. And this motor that's in this Vulcan S is the same motor as those. Plus, it's the motor they put in the Z650, and I believe now in the RS 650. They're all tuned slightly different. So a lot of people talk about the Vulcan S as having a sport bike engine. Well, it's got a sporty engine, but it's not truly a sports bike engine, because that's more like the 600 class engines that'll take you up to 180 miles per hour on a track. But given all that, it's a very respectable, well-trusted, and durable motor. An interesting fact is, with the Vulcan S, they're touting a 61 horsepower motor with a 46 plus foot-pounds of torque. Now, when we think about the modern era of bikes being water-cooled and fuel-injected, you might be quite shocked to know that the original Honda CB750, the four-cylinder bike that revolutionized the industry, only had 67 horsepower and 64 foot-pounds of torque. So literally, the Vulcan S has 2 foot-pounds of torque more and only 6 horsepower less. So you can't dock this bike for being a slouch. So as a newer rider ponders whether this would be a good bike for them, I don't see why it wouldn't. It's fairly well mannered. But yet if you pour the coals to it, it has plenty of get up and go. In fact, in the Cruiser class of bikes, it's actually quite quick. But unlike a true sports bike, it's not going to get a new rider into tons of trouble. Now, I'm an experienced rider. I've been riding for over 50 years. And I bought this bike because I really love Kawasaki's. I love the 650 class motorcycles in general. And as I get a little older here, I've had knee trouble from some past accidents and a pretty hard life of working. I wanted to get a cruiser style bike so that I could give the knees a little stretch on longer rides. I have to say, so far, this bike is extremely comfortable. I typically ride more naked bikes than sport bikes, and bikes with forward controls I've more ridden than I have owned. But now that I own this bike, I am really happy that I have it. I do have other motorcycles, and they all serve their purpose well, but I'm really loving this bike. If someone were to ask me if I'd recommend this bike to them, I'd say hands down yes. This is a really great motorcycle. So what's it like riding it? Well, believe it or not, even though I haven't put a windscreen on it yet, which I plan to do, I don't find it uncomfortable being out here in the open with the wind coming on. Some bikes you really feel it. Something probably about this headlight design and the gauges that deflect enough wind that you're really not getting hammered by it. I was a little worried that the suspension might be a little rough because it doesn't have a lot of travel, but I found that the bike takes bumps fairly well. Not much different from any other bike that I ride, and I don't find the seat to be uncomfortable as many people claim. Now, a lot of people complain that when they get off of a standard bike and they get on a bike with forward controls, that they hate it and they find it uncomfortable and awkward. I find that within a minute or two of riding a bike with forward controls, it's just about as natural as anything else that you might climb onto. This bike has no problem on a highway, freeway speeds. It's got plenty of get up and go. And I find that when you're in the 5,000 to 6,000 RPM range, you're still in the eco mode. So it's not the kind of bike you're going to be lugging around at 1 or 2, maybe 2,500 RPMs, like possibly how you would a Harley. But if you ride it like a Japanese bike should be ridden, it's really quite pleasant. Now, if you're a new rider or an experienced rider, you're not going to get bored with the power of a bike like this. Again, we used to think the Honda CB750 was a rocket ship, and since this thing's performance is quite similar, I don't see how anybody could complain about it. I love to be real honest about things, and I have to admit that since I'm not really much of a cruiser type of guy, I never really paid much attention to the Vulcan line of motorcycles that Kawasaki offered. I pretty much just passed them on by as I was looking at things. So when I became interested in the Vulcan S, and I started to check it out, boy, was I shocked. It's a beautiful motorcycle. It's a little longer than, say, my Ninja 650. After all, it is a cruiser, and it's got more rake. It sits low, but it's not so low that it's uncomfortable. But for being a little bit heavier, it feels super light. All that has to do with the low center of gravity. Little fishing pond's a bit frozen over. So we'll get off here and check this bike out. So as you can see, it's absolutely beautiful bike. I added the solo rack. Allows me to use my favorite tail bag. I've put some spools on for protection and lifting the bike to work on it. Got the helmet lock that I added. Have the R&G Racing Adventure bars, crash protection. And here's the heel shifter that I added from R&G Racing. Come around here. I have my favorite license plate bracket that I put on all my bikes. And you might see I've done some vinyl graphics and pin striping on the bike, plus the Pro Grip tank pad for protection. I added a radiator guard here. I think that's such a great addition to every bike. Other than that, I don't think those mirrors are ugly. And again, they just work so fantastic. I have no problem with them. So anyways, there we have it. My Kawasaki Vulcan S. So let's get back on the road. So to reiterate, I have found nothing on this bike so far that I do not like. There are features I definitely love, and there's features that I feel are pretty average for any bike. If you like the Vulcan S, and it's definitely on your list of top bikes to possibly own, I would agree that it's a great choice. I always say if you like a bike, everything just feels right about it, and you want to own it, then that's what you ought to do. So one of the reasons I love the 650 class of motorcycles is they have plenty of power, they have great gas mileage, they're light enough to where they're not burdensome. You don't feel like you have to fight them to move them around. And quite honestly, if I ride with people with larger bikes, I have no problem keeping up with them. The 650 class motorcycle will do just about anything you need it to do, and be a whole lot of fun while doing it. So I want to thank you all for taking a ride with me on my first ride video on my new Kawasaki Vulcan S. Hope you found some of it interesting, enjoyed getting out into the world on what normally would be a day we might just lock ourselves up near a cozy fire and stay warm. So to my returning subscribers, you know how much I appreciate you, and I thank you for joining me today. If you haven't yet done so, why don't you subscribe to my channel? Also, give me a thumbs up. Helps my videos get recognized, helps my channel grow. And if you find one you like, why not go ahead and share it? Helps more people get to see the content that otherwise they may have missed. So again, thank you for coming today, and we'll get out and do this again soon. Y'all take care now, and I appreciate y'all.